Unlocking your inner strength, cultivating resilience and grit. Keynotes, the power within. Recognizing that strength is already inside you. 2, pain has a purpose. Let struggles refine, not define you. Choose response over reaction. Resilience is in the pause. Grit is a daily choice, not a burst of emotion. Discipline over motivation. Commitment. When you don't feel like it. 6, bounce back, don't break. How to stand up when life knocks you down. Vision fuels endurance. When you see the future, you can bear the present. 8, spiritual fortitude. Inner strength is rooted in higher purpose. Introduction. There is a hidden strength within you that you haven't even begun to tap into. It's not in your muscles. It's not in your bank account. It's not in your academic degrees or professional achievements. It's buried deep beneath your fears, your failures, and your doubts. And it's waiting for the moment when life shakes you hard enough that you finally wake it up. This message is not about becoming something new. It's about awakening what's already there, the fire that's been smoldering inside you, waiting to blaze. We live in a world that celebrates ease and comfort. We are told that struggle is to be avoided, that pain is an enemy, and that success should be instant. But the truth? Real strength doesn't grow in luxury. It's forged in pressure, pain, and perseverance. You weren't meant to break in hardship. You were designed to rise. Every challenge you faced, every tear you've cried, and every time you've thought, I can't take this anymore, was not a sign of your weakness. It was the gym where your inner strength was training. There's a divine strategy behind every difficulty, a purpose behind the pain. Life will test you not to destroy you, but to show you who you are and what you carry. Resilience and grit are not gifts given to the few. They are disciplines cultivated by the committed. And if you can learn how to unlock the strength within you, there is no storm you can't withstand, no loss you can't recover from, and no dream too distant to reach. This is not a speech. This is a spiritual activation. So I want you to lean in. Don't just listen with your ears. Listen with your heart. Because what we're about to unlock today could change everything. If you're tired of feeling weak, if you're done being controlled by your circumstances, and if you're ready to rise in the middle of the mess, then let's begin. Because your breakthrough doesn't start when life gets easier. It starts when you tap into the strength God already placed within you. A power within. Recognizing that strength is already inside you. The greatest lie ever told to humanity is this, that we are powerless, that we must wait for some external rescue, some supernatural moment, or some ideal condition before we can truly become strong. But what if the truth is the exact opposite? What if the very power you've been praying for, hoping for, searching for, is already inside of you? What if you've had it all along, but the chaos of life, the criticism of others, and the confusion in your mind has simply distracted you from it? Let me tell you this, inner strength is not born in moments of applause or comfort. It's unearthed in silence, in solitude, in struggle. It's in the sleepless nights when you feel forgotten. It's in the moments when everyone walks away and you're left standing with nothing but your breath and your belief. Strength is in you, but it needs pressure to be revealed. Just like a seed needs darkness to sprout, your potential needs adversity to awaken. We've become so conditioned to think strength looks like loudness, like aggression, dominance, or control. But real strength, it's quiet. It's steady. It's when everything around you is falling apart and yet somehow you don't. It's when disappointment visits you like an old friend, and instead of running, you open the door and say, I'm still standing. Inner strength isn't the absence of weakness, it's the refusal to be ruled by it. When a child is born, we don't question whether it has muscles. We know they're there, hidden, undeveloped, waiting for movement. In the same way, your spiritual and emotional muscles are there. They may feel weak right now, but they are waiting for you to move. You don't get strong by avoiding life. You get strong by lifting what's heavy over and over again until what once crushed you now confirms you. Think back to a moment you thought would break you, and yet here you are. Maybe you lost someone you loved. Maybe you failed publicly. Maybe you were betrayed, abandoned, misunderstood. And in that moment, you thought it was over. But it wasn't. Because there was something in you, even if it was just a whisper, that said, keep going. That voice, that's your strength. Not the scream of motivation, but the whisper of perseverance. The key to unlocking inner strength is to stop looking outside for validation and start acknowledging the gold God already placed within. You don't need to be stronger than the storm. You need to know that the storm was sent to prove how strong you already are. The problem is not that you're weak, it's that you believe the lie that you are. Strength doesn't come from avoiding failure, it comes from surviving it. Imagine a world where everyone stopped pretending they had nothing left and started acting on the strength they had all along. Imagine if instead of saying, "I can't do this," we said, "This is hard, but I've made it through harder." Imagine if we taught our children that strength isn't about winning every battle, it's about showing up when you want to quit. That would change generations. That would shift everything. You're not waiting on strength. Strength is waiting on you to believe again, waiting on you to rise again, waiting on you to stop looking in the mirror and only seeing your pain, your weight, your flaws, your regrets. Strength is in your scars. It's in your history. It's in your breath. You were built for endurance. You were created for resistance. You were designed for resilience. Don't wait for the storm to pass before you find your strength. Let the storm reveal it. Let the heartbreak reveal it. Let the silence reveal it. Your inner strength isn't in some future version of you. It's in the present you, the one who's hurting but still hopeful, the one who's tired but still trying, the one who's afraid but still moving forward. That's where your real strength lives. You don't need more power. You need more awareness of the power you already have. And the moment you realize that, your circumstances won't change, you will. And when you change, everything around you begins to shift. Because strength doesn't wait for life to be easy. It shows up in the middle of the fire and says, "Even here, I will not be shaken." 2, pain has a purpose. Let struggles refine, not define you. Pain is not the enemy. In fact, pain is often the greatest messenger in your life. It may arrive uninvited. It may feel unbearable. But if you listen closely, pain always speaks. And what it speaks is not destruction, but transformation. The question is not whether pain will come, it will. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you let it define you, or will you allow it to refine you? Some of the strongest people you've ever admired didn't become strong in ease. They became strong through endurance. Their strength wasn't born in comfort, but in the crucible of pain. Every wound they carried, every battle they fought, every sleepless night they survived, all of it shaped them. They didn't choose their suffering, but they chose to give their suffering purpose, and that choice changed everything. You see, the enemy wants you to believe that pain is proof you're cursed, but pain can be a signal that you're being carved, refined, and readied for something greater. The sculptor doesn't hate the stone when he strikes it, he sees the masterpiece within it. In the same way, the blows you've taken in life weren't meant to destroy you, but to chisel away what doesn't belong. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the failure, they're not just wounds. They're tools in the hands of a master builder who sees more in you than you see in yourself. There is a refining fire in every season of suffering. But fires don't just burn, they purify. Diamonds are made under pressure. Gold is refined by fire. And your purpose is revealed in pain. Don't curse your dark season. It might be the very soil where your greatest fruit will grow. What you call your breaking point might be your birthing point. What tried to bury you might actually plant you. Do not let your struggle become your identity. Your trauma is real, but it is not the end of your story. Your loss is real, but it does not cancel your future. You may carry scars, but your scars are not shame. They are signs that you healed. They are proof that the weapon was formed, but it didn't prosper. So hold your head high, not because you've never been hurt, but because you didn't let the hurt have the final word. When you shift your perspective on pain, everything changes. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you begin to ask, "What is this doing in me?" That question unlocks healing. That question unlocks wisdom. That question turns your mess into a message, your hurt into hope, and your wounds into weapons. Because pain doesn't define the strong, it builds them. So today, don't waste your suffering. Let it teach you. Let it grow you. Let it refine you into the version of yourself that was always meant to rise. Pain has a purpose, and so do you. Choose response over reaction. Resilience is in the pause. In every moment of chaos, there is a split-second decision that defines everything. Will you react or will you respond? The difference between the two is subtle but powerful. Reaction is automatic. It's emotional, impulsive, and often regretful. But response is intentional. It's thoughtful, deliberate, and rooted in strength. And it's in that pause, that sacred moment between what happens to you and what you choose to do next, where true resilience is born. Life doesn't ask for your permission to bring storms. People will offend you. Circumstances will blindside you. Pain will hit when you least expect it. But your power is not in controlling the world around you. It's in mastering the world within you. When the winds blow and emotions rise, your strength is in your ability to pause, to breathe, and to choose your next step with clarity and courage. Reaction is easy. Anyone can explode in anger, collapse in fear, or drown in self-pity. But response? That takes inner strength. That takes training. And most of all, that takes self-awareness. You don't need to be ruled by your emotions. You were made to rise above them. You were created with the capacity to feel deeply, but still lead wisely. That is the power of resilience. Feeling everything, but not being controlled by anything. Think of the greatest leaders, the strongest individuals you admire. What separates them isn't that they avoid hardship. It's how they remain composed in it. They've trained themselves to slow down in the storm. They've mastered the pause, the moment between the trigger and the action. That pause is your secret weapon. It's where grace enters. It's where wisdom flows. It's where peace becomes louder than panic. Even the most painful betrayal, the harshest criticism, or the most unexpected setback doesn't have the authority to define you unless you give it that authority. When you react, you hand over your power. But when you respond, you reclaim it. Reaction is the language of the flesh. Response is the language of the spirit. And your spirit was designed for victory. Responding doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming powerful. It means choosing stillness over impulsiveness, choosing purpose over pain, choosing growth over bitterness. It means refusing to let your triggers dictate your testimony. It means rising above what was meant to bring you down, not because it didn't hurt, but because you decided to lead with strength instead of emotion. Resilience isn't just about how many hits you can take. It's about how you manage your heart in the aftermath. It's about refusing to react in anger, fear, or revenge, and instead rising with peace, wisdom, and clarity. So pause, take a breath. Remember who you are and whose you are. Because in that pause lies your victory. Your greatest power is not in what happens to you, it's in how you choose to respond. Grit is a daily choice, not a burst of emotion. Grit is not a one-time moment of bravery. It's not that flash of adrenaline when you shout, "I'm going to change my life." It's not the emotional high after hearing a motivational speech. Grit is quieter than that. It's simpler. It's not about how loudly you begin, it's about how faithfully you continue. Grit is a decision you make every day, especially when the excitement fades and the results haven't shown up yet. You see, the world glorifies talent, beauty, intelligence. But the ones who truly finish the race, the ones who actually change their lives, build businesses, heal families, break generational curses, those are the ones who understand that grit is not occasional. It's a lifestyle. They get up when they don't feel like it. They keep moving when no one is clapping. They persevere when the rewards seem invisible. That's grit. Grit says, "I've cried, I've bled, I've failed, but I'm still here." Grit doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "Try again tomorrow." It's choosing to show up in discipline even when your feelings try to lie to you. Motivation is based on how you feel. But grit is rooted in who you are becoming. And becoming someone great is never convenient. It's costly. It takes sacrifice. It takes faithfulness in the small things. Let's be honest. Anyone can start. But how many finish? How many stay the course when the excitement is gone, when the obstacles rise, and when the dream looks further away than when you began? That's the test of grit, and that's where most people give up. Not because they're weak, but because they mistook emotion for commitment. Emotions rise and fall, but commitment is a covenant. Every day you have a choice, comfort or calling, emotion or execution, excuses or endurance. Grit is choosing execution over excuses every single time. And here's the beauty. The more you choose grit, the stronger it becomes. Grit is like a spiritual muscle. The more pressure you put on it, the more powerful it gets. You don't find grit in success. You build it in resistance. The truth is, the days you don't feel like showing up are the days that matter most. That's when your character is forged. That's when your destiny is protected. That's when heaven leans in and says, "Now that's strength." Not when you performed perfectly. Not when everything felt right. But when everything felt wrong and you still said yes. So today, don't wait for the feeling. Make the decision. Grit doesn't wait for the perfect mood. Grit moves in spite of it. And every time you choose grit, you're building a life that storms can't shake, setbacks can't destroy, and doubt can't derail. Because you weren't made to quit, you were made to overcome. Discipline over motivation. Commitment. When you don't feel like it.
Let's be real. Motivation is overrated. It's unreliable. It shows up when it wants and disappears when you need it most. Motivation is like the wind. It blows strong one day and vanishes the next. But discipline is a rock. It's steady, dependable, and it doesn't care how you feel. It's not emotional. It's foundational.
If motivation is the spark, then discipline is the engine. You don't drive a car with a spark, you drive it with a sustained burn. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. And in a world that's addicted to emotional highs and instant gratification, it's the disciplined who rise to the top. Not because they were the most talented, not because they were the most inspired, but because they showed up on the days when it was hard. Discipline says, I'll do it even when I don't feel like it. Discipline says, I don't need applause to keep going. Discipline says, this is hard, but I made a decision and I'm keeping it. That's power. That's maturity. That's growth. Because if your life is only led by your emotions, you'll live like a slave to your feelings. But if your life is governed by discipline, you'll walk in freedom. Real freedom is not doing whatever you want. Real freedom is having the strength to do what you committed to, even when it's inconvenient. Think about every breakthrough you've ever had. It wasn't because you felt great the whole way through. It was because you pushed past the point where you wanted to quit. The strongest people in the world are not those who feel the most fired up. They are the ones who have trained themselves to move forward without feeling ready. That's discipline. When you don't feel like waking up early, but you do it anyway. When you don't feel like forgiving, but you choose peace anyway. When you don't feel like praying, working, showing up, trying again, but you do it anyway. That's what separates the average from the extraordinary. The enemy loves when you rely on motivation because he knows how easy it is to attack your feelings, but he fears the disciplined. He fears the person who says, even when I'm tired, even when I'm broken, even when I'm discouraged, I'm still going to do what I said I'd do. That kind of person, unstoppable. Don't live a life that starts and stops every time your mood changes. Build a life anchored in discipline, rooted in vision, fueled by commitment, grounded in purpose. That's where your inner strength shines. That's where greatness is forged. Because in the end, it's not how motivated you were that will define your life. It's how faithful you were when the feelings faded. So when motivation fails you, let discipline carry you. 6 bounce back, don't break, how to stand up when life knocks you down. Life doesn't ask for your permission before it hits you. It doesn't send a warning before the storm, a memo before the betrayal, or a countdown before the loss. It just comes, sometimes out of nowhere. And when it does, it knocks the breath out of you. But here's the truth. It's not the fall that defines you. It's what you do after you fall. Do you stay down or do you rise? Everyone falls. The strong, the weak, the successful, the struggling. No one is immune to life's punches. But there's a difference between those who fall and break and those who fall and bounce back. The ones who bounce back have something on the inside that refuses to surrender. They have a resilience that says, this hurt me, but it won't end me. When you fall, you may feel like everything is over. Your plans, your hope, your joy, it all feels shattered. But listen, broken pieces can still be used. In fact, sometimes the breaking is what allows the light to get in. Sometimes the breakdown becomes the breakthrough. Sometimes the fall was necessary, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you on stronger ground. You weren't created to be fragile. You were designed to be resilient. You were born to endure. The same wind that bends the tree is the wind that strengthens its roots. The same fire that melts wax is the fire that purifies gold. What breaks one person builds another, not because of the storm, but because of what they decided to do with it. You have a choice. Let it break you or let it build you. And the choice is not made in comfort. It's made when you're lying on the ground, gasping for hope, hearing every voice of doubt screaming, stay down. And yet something in you rises, even if it's just an inch, and says, no, not yet, I'm not done. That's strength. That's courage. That's grit. You don't need to be perfect to bounce back. You just need to refuse to quit. Bounce back from the mistake. Bounce back from the heartbreak. Bounce back from the financial failure, the public embarrassment, the private shame. You're not the first to fall, and you won't be the last, but you can be the one who gets back up stronger. Falling is human. Getting back up is holy. It's divine. It's sacred. Because when you rise after the fall, you tell the world that the fall wasn't final. You tell your enemies that the darkness didn't win. You tell yourself that your story is still being written. And sometimes the greatest chapters are written after the fall. So bounce back, not because it's easy, but because you were made to rise. Vision fuels endurance. When you see the future, you can bear the present. You can endure almost anything when your eyes are set on something greater. Vision is the internal compass that keeps you going when the path is dark, the progress is slow, and the pain feels endless. It's not just about having goals, it's about seeing beyond the pain, beyond the delay, beyond the disappointment. Vision doesn't deny the struggle, it gives the struggle a reason. When your vision is clear, your endurance becomes supernatural. You stop measuring the worth of the journey by how easy it is and start measuring it by how meaningful it is. Vision speaks to your spirit and says, this won't last forever, but what you're becoming will. Vision says, keep going because the reward is greater than the resistance. Vision lifts your eyes above the fog and reminds you of the destination when all you can see is dust. The truth is, we often grow weary because we lose sight of what we're moving toward. When the process gets long, when the prayers feel unanswered, when the promise seems far away, it's easy to forget why you started. But vision brings it back. It whispers, remember what you saw before the trial began. Remember what you dreamed before the pain arrived. Vision gives you a reason to fight again. Every person who's ever done something meaningful, something lasting, had to carry vision through seasons of confusion. They had to walk through valleys holding on to what they saw on the mountaintop. If you're in a season where it feels like nothing's working, nothing's changing, and no one sees you, that doesn't mean the vision was wrong. It means you're walking through the part where endurance is forged. Endurance is not glamorous. It doesn't post well on social media. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. Endurance says, even if I'm limping, I'm still moving. Endurance says, even if I don't see it yet, I'm not giving up. And the fuel for that kind of endurance is not just raw strength, it's clear vision. Not just what you want, but who you're becoming, what legacy you're leaving, what impact you're carrying. Ask yourself, what's your vision? Not your fantasy, not your ego's plan, but your deep, God-given vision. The one that brings you to tears when you're alone. The one that burns even when no one believes in it but you. That's what gives you the endurance to keep going when everything screams quit. Vision will stretch you. It will test you, but it will also preserve you. Because when your heart is locked onto a future that's greater than your pain, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. You'll walk through fire and come out without the smell of smoke, not because it didn't burn, but because the vision burned brighter. So keep your eyes up, fix your focus, let vision fuel your steps. Because your present battle is shaping you for a future breakthrough, and it's worth every step. The strategy is defeated when you keep walking in faith. The enemy's greatest strategy is not just to attack you, it's to stop you. It's to make you freeze, retreat, give up, or settle. But here's the truth. His strategy collapses the moment you keep walking in faith. Faith doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you keep moving even when you don't. It means that after the disappointment, after the betrayal, after the door slammed in your face, you keep walking. You don't quit. You don't bow down. You don't drown in self-pity. You rise up and walk, not because it's easy, but because you trust the one who goes before you. The devil is not afraid of your talent. He's not afraid of your past. He's afraid of your movement. Because every time you take a step in faith, you are pushing back darkness. You are declaring with your life, you tried to stop me, but I'm still going. And that defeats the enemy more than any sermon you preach or any post you make. When you walk in faith, you remind hell that the God who started a good work in you will finish it. The enemy's blueprint is always the same. Plant doubt, stir fear, highlight every failure, magnify the pain, and whisper lies. But when you walk anyway, walk wounded, walk limping, walk crying, you demolish his strategy. Because your movement declares, I may not feel strong, but I know who walks with me. The enemy strategizes for delay because he knows delay brings discouragement. He strategizes for offense because offense brings bitterness. He strategizes for isolation because isolation makes the lies louder. But when you walk in faith, surrounded by God's word, anchored in his promise, and refusing to back down, his whole system collapses. You weren't called to stay stuck. You weren't saved to stand still. You were born to move forward in power. And sometimes the boldest act of spiritual warfare is not shouting. It's simply taking another step. It's showing up to your calling again. It's believing again, dreaming again, praying again, trusting again. In the book of Joshua, when the Israelites walked around the walls of Jericho, they didn't fight with swords. They walked in obedience. They walked in silence. They walked in faith. And on the seventh day, the wall didn't fall because of their strength. It fell because of their obedient endurance. That's the same power that works in your walk today. You may not feel it, but heaven notices every step you take. Angels are dispatched when you walk by faith. Chains break, doors open. Heaven moves, hell shakes. So don't stop now. Don't let the enemy's strategy win by making you sit down. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep declaring that your faith is bigger than the storm. The enemy's plan fails when you refuse to quit, because every step of faith is a declaration of war and a proclamation of victory. Conclusion: the strategy has been exposed. Now it's time to walk in victory. Now you see it clearly. The enemy has a strategy. He's been plotting, scheming, and manipulating situations to drain your faith, steal your joy, and paralyze your purpose. But today, you've been given eyes to see the invisible war and the divine authority to win it. You are not a victim of the enemy's lies. You are a child of the highest God, equipped, anointed, and appointed for such a time as this. The attacks were real, but so is your victory. The delay was painful, but so is your deliverance powerful. The storm was loud, but the voice of God in your life is louder. You now know his tactics. He uses distractions to dilute your focus. He plants offense to poison your relationships. He brings isolation to silence your identity. He magnifies fear to paralyze your destiny. But now that the strategy is exposed, it's defeated. Because the moment light shines, darkness flees. The moment truth speaks, lies unravel. And the moment you stand up and walk in faith, the chains the enemy tried to wrap around your purpose fall powerless to the ground. From this day forward, you will not walk unaware. You will not surrender ground that belongs to your destiny. You will not accept what the enemy throws at you as normal. You will rise, fight, and finish strong, because the one who called you is faithful, and no weapon formed against you will prosper. Walk boldly, pray fiercely, love deeply, live purposefully. And remember, when you walk in faith, the enemy loses every time. Thank you for taking this journey. Not just through this message, but through the spiritual battlefield of life. I pray this word didn't just inform you, but ignited you. Stirred something deep within that says, I was born for more. Your life matters. Your purpose is real. And your victory is already written. Thank you for listening, for pressing in, and for believing that the best is yet to come. Your hunger for truth is rare. Your willingness to fight forward is powerful. Don't let anything stop you. Heaven is cheering for you, and I am too. May you rise from this message with clarity, courage, and conviction. And may you never forget, the enemy's strategy is nothing compared to the strength of your Savior. Thank you, and keep walking.